Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to part 1 of your reading lesson today. I'm Mrs. Taima, and in part 1, we are going to be doing some more comparing and contrasting. You're going to be filling out a Venn diagram with Miss Spears comparing Ella from Bigfoot Cinderella to Adelita. So you are going to need some extra materials today. You are going to need handout 21A and 21B from your blue workbook. So make sure you have that ready before you continue the video to watch with Miss Spears, okay? You're also going to be talking about what you have learned, what you've learned to do as a reader or a writer since reading Adelita. How has it built your knowledge? All right, friends, so stay tuned. Make sure you have your materials handy and stay tuned to watch the video with Miss Spears to compare and contrast Ella and Adelita and talk about what you know as a reader or a writer. See you back for part 2.
Hello friends, and welcome back to Wit and Wisdom in Sync. My name is Tanisha Spears and I'm excited to get into our lesson today. But before we do, let's make sure you have your materials ready. For this lesson, you will need a copy of the text Adelita if you have one. You'll need handout 21A, which is a Venn diagram. You'll need handout 21B, which is the Cinderella and Adelita experience cards. You'll also need handout 24B, which is the Focusing Question Task 3 Evidence Organizer. You'll need your Wit and Wisdom in Sync journal and a pencil. We will also be looking at assessment 24A, which is the Focusing Question Task 3, but I'll show that to you on the screen. If you have scissors and a glue stick, those would be helpful also. But if you don't, that's okay. You can still participate in the activity in a different way. Pause the video now if you need to gather your materials. In previous work, you had an opportunity to think about how introductions and opinion paragraphs work, as well as reflect on the knowledge you've built by reading Adelita. Today, you'll continue to reflect on the knowledge you've gained and the skills you've learned by reading Adelita, but you will also compare Adelita's experiences to another character. And the question that will frame our learning for today is, how does this text build my knowledge? Today, you're going to do some more thinking about how Adelita has built your knowledge. But first, you're going to compare Adelita's experiences to those of another character that you've studied. Today, we're going to use a Venn diagram to compare Adelita and Ella. Remember, you've used a Venn diagram to compare stories before. On this diagram, I'm going to place things that happen only to Adelita in the red circle on the left, and the things that happen only to Ella in the blue circle on the right. Things that happen to both characters will go in the middle, where the two circles overlap. Are you ready to help me complete the chart? I'm going to describe something that happened in one or both of the stories. Your job is to point to where it belongs on the screen. Then we will go over the correct answer together. Remember, if the experience happened only to Adelita, you're going to point to the red circle. And if the experience happened only to Ella, you'll point to the blue circle. If it happened to both, you can point to the place where the two circles overlap. The first one is, has Esperanza, who helps her find her mother's rebozo. Point to the part of the Venn diagram where this experience belongs. Are you pointing? And did you point to the red circle? Because that happened only to Adelita. Our next experience is, has a berry godfather who uses magic to help her. Point to the part of the Venn diagram where this experience belongs. Did you say that it is Ella who has a berry godfather? So this experience goes in the blue circle. Our next experience is, has an evil stepmother who is mean to her. Point to the part of the Venn diagram where this experience belongs. I'm sure you pointed to the center where both circles overlap, because both Adelita and Ella have an evil stepmother who is mean to her. All right, now what I'd like you to do is take out handouts 21A and 21B. It looks like what you see on the screen. Listen as I review the directions on handout 21B. Cut up the experience cards. Sort the cards onto a Venn diagram to identify whether the experiences are Ella's, Adelita's, or both. Now, if you don't have all the materials, you can draw a Venn diagram in your journal and then draw a picture or write a word to show where each experience belongs instead. All right, are you ready? You are going to sort the experience cards. You should sort all of the experiences on page 1 of handout 21B. If you like, you may sort the experiences on page 2 as a challenge. I'd like you to pause the video and complete the activity on handout 21B. Remember, if you don't have all the materials, you can draw a Venn diagram in your journal and then draw a picture or write a word to show where each experience belongs. Pause the video now to sort the experience cards. Did you sort your experience cards? Now, what do we usually do after working with each text? Think. Share with your learning partner or share aloud. What do we usually do after working with each text? I'm sure you said it. After working with each text, you take an opportunity to reflect on what you have learned. Remember, on the left-hand side of the chart is where the new information that you learned goes. And on the right-hand side is where you identify the skills that you've learned to do as a reader and a writer. Now think, what did you learn from reading Adelita? And what did you learn by comparing Adelita to Ella? Think. Now, share your ideas with your learning partner or just share them aloud. Here are some of the things I remember us learning. I remember that there are many similarities between Cinderella characters, but each story has differences too. I also know that we've learned that people admire the Cinderella character in a story because she is hardworking and kind. Now let's think about what you learned to do as a reader and a writer. What is something new that you learned about writing opinion paragraphs? And what did you learn about comparing and contrasting characters? Think. Now share with your learning partner or share aloud. You may have said that you learned to write an introduction and conclusion in an opinion paragraph. Or you may have said that we've learned how to use a Venn diagram to compare and contrast the experiences of characters from two stories. Nice work building your knowledge and your skills. What I'd like you to do now is to record or write one thing you know and one thing you can do after working with the Adelita text. Pause the video now to record or write. All right, if you need to, pause the video to take a moment to stretch or take a quick break.